You're ready to prove that you can be strategic and add value in your role so that you can start to take on more senior roles and become the leader that you and I know that you can be. Welcome back to Lead with Intention. My name is Louise Thompson. I am a leadership coach, but for more than 20 years, I was a corporate leader. I was a director of corporate communications, and at times I struggled with being seen as strategic instead of tactical. I didn't want to be tactical. I was a senior leader and I wanted to prove that I could be strategic around that leadership table. So today I'm going to talk you through a couple of approaches that I learned and that were really valuable to me when I was considering how I could be more strategic, how I could lead strategically and communicate strategically. So if that's what you're struggling with, hopefully you'll find some value in what we're going to explore and discuss today. So let's start with the basics. What is strategy? Well, strategy to me is the act and the art of bringing your organizational priorities to life. It's not just about saying we have a plan and here it is. It's about bringing that plan to life in a way that connects all of the people that you care about, all of your audiences, with what matters most to the future of your organization. So you're going to paint a picture of the future vision, and then you're going to bring that journey to life in a way that is so compelling that people will want to join you and be part of making that strategy a reality. But when you don't communicate strategy very well, it tends to hide in documents, in dusty drawers, and on files on desktops that never see the light of day. So if you want to start being seen as more strategic, you have to learn the art of communicating and articulating strategy in a meaningful way. And the reason it's so important to learn how to communicate strategy, by the way, is that it builds trust. And once you've got trust, you then have a lever and a platform to build all of the other things upon which your company or organization is going to be able to flourish and grow and meet its goals and achieve its future vision. And without that trust, you may have brilliant people on board, you may have a great product, you may be financially, very stable, but you're not going to really thrive and succeed as an organization. And for you as an individual, you are not going to be seen as someone that is there at the vanguard, taking the organization to the future. And if you're ambitious for your career, that's exactly where you want to be. So start with trust, and we build trust by being effective, empathetic, and authentic communicators. So when we think about being seen as more strategic, we're going to focus in on the way that we communicate it. So let's talk about how to communicate strategy effectively. You're going to ask yourself some key questions to get yourself started on this journey. Are we going to move people to action based on what we're sharing? Are we going to be able to persuade people that may actually be resistant to some of the things we're suggesting, particularly if you're on a change journey? Are we going to be able to influence them to actually engage with us and help us on our journey? Bottom line, what is it that we need them to think, feel, and do as a result of us communicating our strategy? And that is the essential question you need to start with. Identify what outcome you need from your strategic messages. And then we're going to bring in some level of storytelling finesse to bring it to life for people. So I'll give you an example from my own corporate career. If you follow me, you will know that for many years I worked in the NHS, and the NHS is full of change. And I was a director of communications at an NHS set of hospitals that was going through a pretty significant, some might say monumental change, the act and the process of merging with another hospital trust. It's one of the biggest strategic changes you can think about when you work in the NHS. And there were lots of logical reasons and financial reasons why this proposed merger made sense. But we needed to be able to persuade people, our own staff at the neighbouring trust we were going to merge with, all of the local communities and patients that we served. We needed to be able to persuade and convince them that actually this merger wasn't just about the dry numbers on a spreadsheet. It was about things that mattered to them and that there would be benefits as a result. So essentially, we're now talking about choice and the quality of care that can be offered, and also choice and career progression and opportunities for the talented staff that worked in both hospital trusts. So you can see already we are moving our strategy communication from the dry and the dusty and the data to bringing it to life by honing in on the things that people really care about. And that was my messaging strategy and strategic communications approach for this merger. And by the way, you don't have to work or be trained in communications in order to become an effective strategic communicator. It is a skill that you should be investing in as an aspiring leader, whatever your profession is, because remember, we need people to be able to think, feel, and do things as a result of us engaging with them and talking to them. And that is a skill that all leaders have. It's really hard to find a really good, effective, credible leader who isn't also good at communicating. They may have different styles, and that's a great thing, but they know how to communicate, they know how to engage and connect with people. And connection is the other part of this, isn't it? So particularly when you are communicating strategy or change, you need to have empathy and you need to understand and meet people where they are. So in the case of this NHS merger, we needed to meet people, physically meet them out and about, but also emotionally meet them where they were, understand resistance and listen to them so that we could then take that on board, start to articulate some of the benefits of actually then being open to this change. From my years and years of leadership experience, so formerly as a corporate comms director and now as a leadership coach and author of this Substack, Lead with Intention, I have developed a framework. I call it the CLEAR framework for helping you communicate more strategically, and I'm going to run you through it now. In the CLEAR framework, the C stands for create a powerful vision. As we've talked about, strategy without vision is just numbers on a page. It's dry, it's dusty, and it won't lead anybody to action. So create a powerful, compelling vision. The L in CLEAR stands for leading like a human. I know that sounds obvious, but it's actually not. People often forget that we are all human beings. So if you want to communicate powerfully and yes, strategically with other human beings, you need to use human language. So drop the jargon, the acronyms, think about what really matters and how you can talk about that in really human terms. The E in the CLEAR model stands for empathize. Empathize with your audiences. Empathy is such an underrated leadership skill. And if you want to be an effective and credible leader, you need to have it in spades. Meet people where they are, understand what's troubling them, what might be getting in the way of them getting on board with your strategy. The A in CLEAR stands for anchor. I want you to anchor your strategic narrative in what really matters to the organization, to its future, and to the people that you are talking to. And the R in CLEAR stands for reinforce, rinse, and repeat. In other words, be prepared as a leader to invest time and spend valuable time repeating and reinforcing your messaging. Whenever you are trying to be more strategic, you have to accept this is not a one and done shift in your thinking, in your communications, or in other people's understanding. You're going to have to build on it over time. So as an aspiring leader, I want you to think about that and start thinking about where you can allocate more time to actually communicating and articulating strategy to others in a way that is meaningful. So that's the CLEAR framework. I talk about it in this week's Substack, so this is a complement to that, but I'm happy to go into more detail, and I do offer training and coaching on these types of topics if you would like to go deeper on this with me. The final thing I want to say about being more strategic in your communications is you should always be ready to answer or provide the answer to this one question. Why? Why are we doing it? Why does it matter? Getting to the why is, again, such an important part of being an effective leader. I want you to show your workings. I want you to shape and frame meaning for people and context and start offering them that context in terms of how it's going to help the organization solve its problems and move forward. So too often inexperienced leaders do what I call sharing their to-do list when they are presenting to senior leaders, and they say, oh, we did this report and we completed this project. Okay, that's great. You have just shared your to-do list with me, but you haven't shared any meaning or context with me. What was important about that work? How does it tie to our organizational objectives and outcomes? And what needs to happen next? I need to understand why this work was so important in the frame of what matters to us. If you can get that into your head, always be thinking, why? Then you will go far as a leader that understands and can show people that you understand what really matters strategically, and that crucially, you are able to articulate it too. So I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. It's been a whistle-stop tour of some of the things I want you to think about. Communication lies at the heart of this, guys, and I want to do more in my Substack on effective leadership communication. So do let me know, by the way, if there are certain things that you struggle with as an aspiring leader that wants to be taken more seriously, wants to be seen as more credible, and ultimately wants to be more confident in the way that you communicate with those senior leaders. Drop me an email or a DM on Substack Notes. Let me know, and I will frame some future episodes of this podcast and the Substack to meet those needs. So I hope you've enjoyed today. Let me know what you think. Will you be using the CLEAR framework? And are you able to answer the question, but why does that matter in your day job? I'll see you soon.